What's up, guys? You know, just checking out this playmat here. No, actually, we have another deck profile today because it's been a while since my last one. This is going to be a newer deck for once. I'm just going to do it because I pretty much have everything I need. But it's going to be cubics. So, but the thing I don't like about cubics is with the cubics, we are missing one, and that's cubic Duja. Now, Duja, most of these cubics cannot be normal summoned or special summoned except by their own effects, which really sucks. Duja and Vijam the Cubic Seed are the only ones that can be normal summoned or special summoned outside of their own ways. But Konami did not print us Duja in the movie pack. So until we get Duja, this deck is just going to be what it'll be. But meantime, everything is an ultra rare. And so it was pretty cheap. I got everything I needed for like less than 20 bucks. And you know, it's not pretty bad to build. And when this deck can't go off, it's pretty hard to kill. But the problem is just making it go off. So without further ado, let's do this. You need to have 3 Vijam the Cubic Seed. Alright, this is your... It's 0/0, but it can't be destroyed by battle. And whenever your opponent battles it, you can move this card to the spell and trap card zone as a spell card, and it'll put a cubic counter. Cubics utilize counters, which is really kind of stupid because they don't really go off into the competitive way that you play this deck. But basically, a cubic counter, the opponent's monster is negated and it can't attack. So that's kind of cool. You can start locking out some of their powerful monsters, but you want to watch out for Chaos Max Dragon because this has 0 attack, and as you know, Chaos Max Dragon can OTK you in a heartbeat, so this deck probably not very good against Chaos Max, but like I said, everything's an ultra rare, it's cheap, but you need to have 3 Vijam. You need to get to this card as fast as possible. And then the other card that you need to have 3 of in this deck, which is pretty much the only other one you can play, is this guy. I don't know his name, let's read it real quick. Crimson Nova, the Dark Cubic Lord. Alright, so Crimson Nova, the Dark Cubic Lord, he has a pretty easy special summon requirement. You have to have him and 3 other cubic cards in your hand with different names, okay? That's very important. They have to have different names. Which isn't as hard as you might think. You just have to run a little variety of cubics, that's all. But he's a 3000 beater. He is unaffected by all monster effects, or even your own, that have original attack points of 3000 or less. So even though the monster may be higher than 3000, if on the card it has original 3000 attack points, it's not going to affect him. And he can attack twice, which is pretty cool. And then at the end phase, both players take 3000 damage. Now, I really don't like this effect of him at all, and sometimes I have to take him off the field. But other than that, he's pretty good, but this is how you make the boss monster. You have to have 3 of these. Of course, he's the boss monster as well. And usually, if you can just get him out, you're pretty good. But if you can go that extra step and get this guy out, who is a fusion of the 3, him right there. I'm sorry, I'm doing this upside down. If you can get this guy out, you're doing pretty good. Alright. So, that's those. And now, to help get out the Cubic Seed and some other ones, 2 Summoner Monk. Summoner Monk goes really good in this deck because, like I said, most of the stuff bricks. You can't summon the cubics because they have to be first special summoned by their own effect. It's pretty stupid. But you can special summon the Cubic Seed, you know, Vijam. You can also summon another Summoner Monk and go to... I have a few rank 4s in this deck. You can go into Elemental Hero Prisma, which I do have. And it just helps out a lot. Because there's a couple cards like Cubic Karma that you totally would want in the graveyard. And I'll explain why. But Summoner Monk helps out a lot. Alright, Elemental Hero Prisma. You know, this is to also try to get out the fusion monster as fast as possible. And do you have ways of getting Crimson Nova back from the graveyard with Recurring Nightmare? And other than that, he's one of the only ones that you can actually summon in this deck. So, if nothing else, he's just really good for going into like a rank 4 play. But he's also got nice stats. I always did like Prisma stats. And here's a card that I've teched in here, Holding Legs. This is another card that you can summon, and whenever it's summoned of any kind, it bounces all face down cards, like face down spells and traps, to the hand. And then if you send him to the graveyard, you can banish it to target a card on the field, and like it can't activate, you know, until the end of the next turn. So that's pretty sweet. It's worked out for me pretty good, actually. For some of the other cubics, we have Blade Garuda, the cubic beast. You have to send 2 cubic monsters you control to the graveyard to summon him. He's good though because he can attack twice, and his attack points become 2,000 whenever he is summoned his proper way. So he's not so bad. I just have him at 2, but you don't want to have too many cloggy cubics because it's really hard. Like, some of them require 3 monsters to summon, and that's just way too damn cloggy. I only have like 2 of those like that. So he's not terrible. And then the cubics is usually when they battle or destroy another monster, they send themselves to the graveyard, summon the Vijams, and then they add a very specific cubic to the hand. And I'm not going to get into that though. You can go look it up yourself. But basically they kind of tag out like Gladiator Beasts do, but they do a very terrible job at it. Like, once they're on the field, I don't usually tag them out, because most of the time I'm not ever in a position where I'm able to. Now we have Vulcan Dragony, the Cubic King. He also requires 2 cubic monsters to summon. He does some random burn damage. There's like literally 4 cubics, 3 or 4 cubics that all inflict 800 points of burn damage. And so I kind of have him in there just for the burn. But I mean, also he can just help you get out other cubics. But I just, you know, you can look at the cards themselves. They all have really long effects. But just because they're long doesn't always mean that they're good. The problem with cubics is that they brick so much. So I have one Buster Gundel, the Cubic Behemoth. He, even though he's pretty hard to summon, he's one of the best because whenever he is summoned, you have to get rid of 3 cubics, but whenever he is summoned, he has 3,000 attack points, and he can attack 3 times. And whenever he's sent to the graveyard by his own effect, you can add any cubic card. So he can help OTK as well if you really need to, and it's just awesome. So this is the other one that needs 3 of them. He gains 2,400 attack points, and he inflicts 800 points of damage, and he adds, is it any cubic card? Yep, also adds any random cubic card. Now you need some 1 cubics, and what I mean by 1, these only need to get rid of 1 cubic to summon. I like him because he's alright. Sometimes I think about this one, the only reason why I have this one is because it's kind of like a Gaga Cowboy. Getting rid of 1 cubic to summon it and just make your opponent lose 800 burn damage sometimes can be more helpful than you think. And then this guy, if you can power him up with cubic karma, you know, he can be a pretty nasty force to reckon with. So both of these I think are good as one-ofs. But you want to have, you don't want to have too many high-level cubics. You want to have the lower levels because they're not as hard to summon. Because like I said, it's already hard enough to get your monsters out as it is. Now for the spells, you need to have 3 cubic karma, okay? You need to have 3 cubic karma, absolutely. You can play it and make your monsters gain attack points, but the main reason why you play cubic karma is because when it's in the graveyard, you banish it, and then you add any cubic card or cubic monster, whichever, from your deck to your hand. So this is, I usually get out Crimson Nova with these all the time. So cubic karma, you know, pitch it for Summoner Monk, then banish it to get a search. So that's how you can kind of get some of your plays going. 2 cubic wave. Cubic wave is actually a really, really good card. Double the attack points of one of your monsters permanently, and half the attack points of another card that your opponent controls. So, and then when it's in the graveyard, it can like put cubic counters on stuff. I don't really use that so much, but I guess it's kind of cool that it has a graveyard effect as well. And then 2 Recurring Nightmare. Recurring Nightmare is good in this deck because all the cubics have 0 defense points, but more often than not, you're going to only use this on Crimson Nova because you will be sending Crimson Novas to the graveyards through your Reasonings and your Monster Gates and your Prisma, so you want to be able to get these back to your hand. So Recurring Nightmare is good for that. And then Fusion Conscription. This just like Cubic Karma, is only here to search out the Crimson Nova card. You can't play it the same turn that you use Fusion Conscription, unfortunately, but this, there's no better way of instantly grabbing it to your hand than this right here. Like, Fusion Conscription is a must for this deck. One pot of Duality, just because you don't really special summon a lot, and you know it could help you with some of your brick hands. This deck actually has 41 cards because I added this in. I know 41's not good, but this is an amateur deck profile, so just work with me here. But a lot of the cubics are kind of weak, so like that dark Garunix one and that little ugly green one with only 800 attack. This is so that they can run over those monsters and gain their effects to summon more Vajan the Cubic Seeds. Because if you can start tagging out, then you can kind of get this deck rolling. Like I said, it's hard to get the deck rolling, but once it does get rolling, it can be pretty nasty for your opponent. Dark Hole, just to get rid of stuff, obviously. 1 day apiece, because a lot of times you're not going to have anything on your side of the field. Honestly, you won't. So this is just to help protect you for 2 turns. Reasoning and Monster Gate. You need to play these, okay? Like, no question. You have to play this. This deck kind of sort of plays like Infernoids almost, where none of the shit can be summoned. And so by doing this, you know, you sort of play Infernoids, except I would honestly say that Infernoids are way better than this deck. But 1 Monster Gate, 1 Reasoning for reasons that you can kind of infer, but it just, you can send a lot of cards from your deck to the graveyard to get something that you can actually summon. Then Upstart Goblin for the draw. And then the next card in this deck, which is actually really good, is Unification of the Cubic Lords. It's a slow polymerization, but you know, you can use it during your opponent's turn, which is cool. But more importantly, it's actually got a useful graveyard effect. If a cubic on your side of the field is removed from the field, okay, removed in any way, you can, so if you can means that it doesn't miss timing, so you can choose for it to happen. So like if I have a cubic on my side of the field and I polymerize it with this card, I can like remove this card from the graveyard to special summon any level 4 or lower cubic from my hand or deck, ignoring the summoning conditions. Now, be careful with this, because when the cubics are special summoned, they don't get their attack points, okay? So you will just have 0/0 beaters on the field. That's another reason why Moon Mirror Shield comes in handy, because it can equip and they can still run over things. But other than that, I like this card because look how freaky it is. It's got an eyeball on it. It's so awesome. Now we have Horn of the Phantom Beast. There's like 2 or 3 beast types in this deck, or Beast Warrior, whatever. So I haven't used this card yet. This could probably be another card you take out, but you know, if you can put this on your Dark Garunix and it could have 1800 attack points, not only would it run over stuff, but it'll get you draws. So you just need as much draw power with this deck as possible, which is why I also have Reckless Greed, you know, for the draw. And then finally, Cubic Rebirth. I have Cubic Rebirth in here as a 1-of just because you meet the requirement for it pretty often, which is when your opponent declares a direct attack, your opponent gets to summon as many copies of that monster as possible, but all of those monsters get cubic counters. They have 0 attack and they can't attack, and then like their effects are negated. So this card, you know, it's like a floodgate. But then you also get the special summon a cubic just to help defend yourself. And then for the extra deck, you really only need 1 of these, but I went ahead and just bought 2 just because, I don't know, I like the way it looks, and I just felt like it wasn't going to hurt me to have 2 because they were only like, you know, less than 50 cents each. So it was just cool to have 2. This guy, if you can get him out, he is like the best card ever for this deck, because every time he attacks, I think he can attack twice, your opponent's life points are halved. And Cubic Karma can actually half your opponent's life points as well, but this is the main way you do it. Just by attacking, okay? Even if the attack doesn't go through, as long as it declares an attack, your opponent's life points will be halved if they don't negate it. Well, speaking of that, they can negate this effect, but they can't destroy it or target it with anything. So, you know, like, it's so powerful. The only way you can destroy this thing is with battle, basically. Or, you know, non-targeting removal. And it's a really good card. So if you can get him out, you pretty much will win. Then for the level 4s, you know, I have Silent Honor Arc, I have Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, Gemini Pearl, Gaga Cowboy. There are some rank 3s, so I do have one Fortune Tune, and then I also have the Anti-Illuminescent Knight. You know, he's kind of like a swap. So anyways, that's the deck, and I hope you like this deck. If you want to pick it up, you know, go pick it up. It's like less than $20 to build, you know, and the extra deck, I just had all those cards, so I really didn't pay anything extra for the extra deck. Probably cost you about $20, $25, whatever, which is not a bad price at all for a Yu-Gi-Oh deck. And you know, with Cubics, I like the Cubics, but I have to admit, the deck is not good at all. If we do not get Duja, then this deck will never be good. But if we do get Duja, okay, Konami, if you're watching this, if you release Duja, then this deck will actually be playable. But till then, it's just a screw-around deck. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more deck profiles, as well as just other things in general. And I'll see you guys later.